Bean Life Science Museum. I'm Sarah. We'll be seeing Marin in just a second. We're talking about birds today, how to make good bird observations. So we're here, can you guess this location? At the BYU Duck Pond, and we're going to be talking about 5 things that we need to be looking for when we're looking at birds. So we've got our ducks here modeling for us today. First, we need to look at their size. We need to look at their color. What color are their feathers? How does that reflect their environment? We also want to look at their environment, see what it looks like, what they're doing out there, listen for their call, and then also just compare their body to the other animals around them. These are some of the ways that we can see what their behavior is, kind of how they interact with their environment, with other birds of the same species and of different species. But this is what we got to do to look at birds. Okay everybody, this is an example of looking at behaviors. We're looking at this duck on the rock right now, which is preening his feathers. Ducks are so cool. If you've ever heard that saying, water on a duck's back, it's because they have such awesome glands in their bodies that secrete oil, that protect and coat those feathers so that their feathers aren't weighed down and they can fly out of the pond at any time. Alright everybody, we're back at the Bean Museum. We're going to fine-tune those skills we practiced outside at the duck pond with this example. These are some quails. So just to start, let's do a little bit of a comparison. We can remember that the ducks are about this big if we're comparing like torso size. These are about the size of the palm of my hand, these little guys. And these 2 quails are even different from each other. This bird, which is our male quail, has a different head, some different coloration around the neck and face in comparison to this female quail. Although they are kind of similar in size, we could also listen to their calls, or if we don't know what their calls are, we can write it in our field journal and say, I wonder what that call is, and look it up later on some of our birding apps or websites to figure out more about these birds to do good comparison. And even just looking at the body, we can say, okay, this is what the chest of this bird looks like. The shape of the feathers around the neck is more small and round, and then it's coming out to be more long. This tells us about the function of the body of the animal, and we can compare it to the female. The neck feathers are a little bit the same, but the chest is very different. So these are some of the observations that help us learn about birds and how they differ within their own species and also just from the environment and the other birds in the neighborhood.
All right guys, welcome back. We're going to be doing our activity portion now. So here we are, we're still at the duck pond. We just want to talk about ducks for a second because they're a really fun bird to observe. So while you're observing, you can write things down in your field journal. So I've brought mine along. So you can write down different things that you notice. Maybe you can focus on one bird and see what he's doing and mark all the things that he does. Or you can focus on one activity, like count all the times that a bird is preening or a bird is looking for food. And just remember, if you decide to feed the ducks while you're at the pond, be sure to feed them different kinds of vegetables like cabbage, or you can give them peas or carrots, little carrot shards, or even oats. Those are much better for them than bread because bread can make them a little bit fat chubby. So we like to give them vegetables while we're here at the pond and observing the different things that they're going to do. We're also going to observe, we're going to listen with our ears for the different sounds that they make. What kind of sounds do you hear from the ducks? So back over by the pond, I wrote down in my field journal the birds I observed. So I wrote down what I saw, and now I'm writing down the different birds that I hear. So we saw mallards and we heard mallards, they're the ducks, and then we saw sparrows, and we can still kind of hear sparrows. If you listen really closely, you can hear all that chirping is the sparrows. But I heard another bird over here just a second ago, so let's listen really closely and see if we can hear that bird again. Do you hear that? All right, those calls right there are from the same bird. They're actually from the black-capped chickadee. So it kind of sounds like he's saying chickadee-dee-dee-dee. And that's how you can tell it's a chickadee. So we're gonna write down that I heard a chickadee, even though I couldn't see him anywhere. We heard the chickadee. Okay, let's go listen for some more birds, okay guys? All right guys, we've moved a little further into campus because there's still tons of birds that you can hear and observe out here, even when you're not down by the duck pond, okay? So be sure to keep your eyes and your ears open while you're out there. I heard another bird just a minute ago. We're gonna listen again and see if we can hear him. And I think I recognize his call. Do you hear that? All right, so that one is a really common bird here in Utah. It's called a magpie. So we're gonna go ahead and write down that I heard a magpie. I didn't see him, but a lot of the times when you observe birds, you only hear the birds because sometimes they can be really hard to spot. So it's really good to remember your bird sounds, okay? So if you can remember really common bird sounds like the chickadee or the magpie, that's a really good way to identify birds out in the field. We've done a little bit more walking around, and I've been able to hear a bird that I'm not sure I can quite identify. I think I heard it again. Can you guys hear that? Let's listen. There it is again. Okay, so I don't know what that bird call is, so when I write down in the birds I observed under I heard, I'm gonna write down what the sound sounds like. So to me it kind of sounds like bird. So I'm gonna write down bird. So that's literally what I wrote down. I just wrote down what it sounded like, so then later I can go back to my references that we talked about last week, and I can look for that sound again, and I can listen to the different sounds of common birds to this area and connect it to that sound. So we're gonna put a little question mark next to it to show that I'm not 100% sure which bird that is, but we're gonna find out later. And as long as I know what that little sound clue means, that's all that matters. So write down whatever you think of when you hear that sound. And that's all for activity day today, guys. So we are just going to remember, we're gonna go out, we're gonna look for birds, we're going to observe them with our eyes and listen for birds, observe them with our ears, okay? And we're going to try our best to identify different birds using the different resources that we had last week, okay? So go ahead and share any observations that you made with the Bean Museum. We'd love to see them, and good luck on your adventures.
And now, please enjoy a montage of birds doing bird things to calm piano music.